Hey guys, this is Geethanjali. In the last video, we did pleiotropy, and in this video, we'll be doing sex determination. So, in 1891, a cytologist named Henking observed spermatogenesis, and he found out that 50% of the sperms of insects had an X-shaped body and an X-shaped structure, and the other 50% did not have it. So he named this X structure the X body. Okay, and later the other scientists found out that this X body was nothing but a sex chromosome, and then they named it the X chromosome. Okay, so why did half of the sperms have this and the other half did not have it? So to understand this, first let's take our own example. Okay, so let's see the sex determination in humans. So in humans, you know that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? So in this, the 22 pairs are normal chromosomes and we call them autosomes. Whereas the one pair that you have, these are the sex chromosomes. Why do we call them the sex chromosomes? Because these chromosomes are the ones that determine our gender, and we also call them allosomes. So these allosomes can be of two types. They can be either X or Y. Okay, so in males, you will see they have XY chromosome as a pair, and in females, you'll see two X chromosomes as a pair. Okay, so you see, male have two different types of chromosomes in them, different types of sex chromosomes in them, two different types of sex chromosomes. So we call this male heterogamity. Okay, now if you put up a Punnett square, so you have XX here, let us say this is for the female, and for the male, let us say we have XY. So here we have XX, we have XY, we have XX, and we have XY. So you see there is 50% chance of getting a female and 50% chance of getting a male. So there are equal chances of either getting a male or a female. But one thing you'll notice here that the female anyways has two X chromosomes. So whenever her gametes are being produced, that is the egg, okay, there'll only be one kind of egg, okay, which will always contain an X. But whereas the sperm in males, there'll be two kinds, okay. One will either contain X or the other, or it will contain Y. So you can see there are two kinds of sperms that can be produced, whereas in female, only one gamete can be produced, which contains X. So in this way, basically, it all depends on the kind of sperm that fertilizes the egg. So usually the sex of the baby is determined here by the father and not the female. To see more examples of this, okay, so we have male heterogamety and we have female heterogamety too. So as we saw in humans, there is male heterogamety, there is XY for male and XX for female. So in Drosophila also there is same. So Drosophila is nothing but a fruit fly. So the same thing is followed here too. Uh, so coming to the insects that we are talking about, insects like grasshoppers and bugs, as I told you, so half of the swarms of the insects did not contain the X chromosomes, whereas the other half did contain it. So here we see there is only one type of sex chromosome here. There's only X, right? And the male contains only one X chromosome, whereas the female contains two X chromosomes. So in this case, you see half of the sperms will have X and the other half will not have any of them. Whereas here, all the X of the insects will definitely have just X chromosome and there'll be only one kind. So you see, the gametes that are being produced in male heterogamety are always two kinds, right? So that is why there is heterogamety. That is why the name hetero means different. So gamete is kind of gametes. So the male bear two different kinds of gametes. That's why we call it male heterogamety. So we see even female heterogamety. So female heterogamety is seen in birds. Okay, so birds, we actually don't use the term X and Y here. So we use two completely new letters. We use Z and W. So in this case, the male has the same kind of chromosome. So it has ZZ chromosome, and the female has different kind of chromosomes. So it produces two different kinds of eggs. So one will contain Z and the other will contain W. So in this case, the female will determine the gender of the baby, right? So you see the same in butterflies and moths too, but in this case, the W chromosome is not present, that is absent. So we only see ZZ, okay, in case of the male, and in case of the female, we just see one Z chromosome. So you see, this corresponds to this, and this corresponds to these two. Coming to another interesting system of sex determination, that is the haplodiploid sex determination or haplodiploidic sex determination. So this sex determination is basically based on the fact that the sex of the bees is basically determined by the number of set of chromosomes that you have. So if it just has N, that is haploid, it's basically a male, and if it's 2N, that is diploid, it's basically a female. So you see, this sex determination is based on the number of sets of chromosomes. So how does this actually work out? So we know that this female usually includes the queen bees and the worker bees, whereas the male usually includes the drones. So you know the drones are fertile, and whereas here the worker bees are the ones which are sterile. Okay, so basically what the queen bee does is it reproduces sexually, okay, to give rise to a female, and parthenogenetically to give rise to a male. Okay, so this parthenogenesis that we're talking about, it is from an unfertilized egg. So the process of forming, an offspring from an unfertilized egg is basically parthenogenesis. Okay, whereas sexually it reproduces female. Okay, so you have N gamete here and the other N gamete from a drone. So you get 2N over here. Whereas here you just have one unfertilized egg N, which will give rise to again N itself, right? So bees, they can have grandsons or grandfathers, but they cannot have fathers or sons. Interesting fact. So this was about sex determination.